In the meanwhile, I would invite our esteemed chair who has joined us from another college, Allama Iqbal Medical College, Mr. Subhan. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Would you like to say a few words, please, before we formally resume the proceedings?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. First of all, apologies, guys, for not being present in the first session. I had some prior commitments due to which I could not come, but here I am and super excited to have you guys. So, just without any delay, if we can start. So, super excited. Also, just as I already told you guys, just be super comfortable around me and feel free to ask about anything. So, happy debating and excited to hear you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are just waiting for a few delegates to join in, and then we'll resume, inshallah.
Sure, sure.
Momina, would you like to proceed with the roll call? Because you were a part of the last session, so you know the metrics, country matrix.
Okay, do we need to do the roll call again?
Yeah, I think few countries they have left. I don't think so. Norway or some other countries. So we just have to make sure, okay, how many countries do we have right now?
Okay, so I'll use the same list which is in front of me. I'm looking for a motion for roll call. Are there any motions on the floor? Yes, Delegate of Iran.
The delegate of Iran wants to raise a motion for the commencement of the moderated caucus.
That motion is highly in order and passes by the discussion of the dais. So we'll be starting with the roll call. You can either say present and voting, or abstain, and I'm sure you guys know what all that means. So let's begin. Delegate of Iran,
Present and voting.
Delegate of Ireland,
Present and voting.
Delegate of Norway. Whoever is writing on the board can just cross it in front of the ones who aren't present, or just mark it in some way so that we. But don't erase it because they were there in the last session. Okay. Delegate of China. Delegate of China. Okay, we don't have delegate of China either. Delegate of Palestine. Delegate
Present.
of Palestine. Just present or voting?
Present and voting.
Okay, I think we do have delegate of China. They have some connection issues. Yeah. So delegate of China is also present, I believe. Then we have delegate of France.
Present and voting.
Delegate of Egypt.
Present and voting.
Delegate of Spain.
Present and voting.
Delegate of Israel.
I'm going to be present and voting.
Okay, delegate of Pakistan.
Present and voting.
Delegate of UK. Delegate of UK. Delegate of the US.
Present.
Just present.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to be voting? Delegate. Okay, delegate of Germany.
Present.
Delegate of Lebanon.
Present and voting.
Okay, so I think delegate of China has joined us. So you can erase the mark of China. Delegate of China is present. Okay, delegate of China present or present in voting? I think they have some connection issues, so we'll continue. I'm looking for a motion for the commencement of debate. Are there any motions on the floor? Yes, Delegate of Iran.
Delegate of Iran wants to raise a motion for the commencement of the moderated caucus.
That motion is highly in order and passes by the discussion of the dais. I'll hand over the floor to our respected chair so that we can continue with the moderated purposes. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I don't know if what mods have already been discussed. If any one of the delegates could kindly just send in the text chat box if you guys what mods have you guys discussed so that we can proceed.
Okay, so
Or if
chair,
anyone,
we have
yeah.
had one GSL before this and one moderated caucus, which was obstacles being faced in I think two nation.
Okay, sure. So just one mod, right?
Yeah, we've had one.
Okay, sure. So are there any points or motions on the floor? Yes, the delegate of Spain, you have the floor.
The delegate of Spain would like to raise a motion for raise a motion for raise a moderated caucus for United Nations intervention in disarming Hamas and the IDF and establishment of a ceasefire in the Israel-Palestine region. For individual speaking time of 1 minute and a total speaking time of 15 minutes.
Okay, delegate, are there any other points or motions on the floor? Yes, delegate of Iran, you have the floor.
Delegate of Iran wants to raise a motion on the topic, the current situation in Gaza and the role of international community.
Time parameters.
15 minutes, 1.5 for each. 10 delegates will speak on the topic.
Okay. So all the delegates who are raising the motions, if you could kindly send these motions also in the chat box so that everybody knows what motions have been raised. With that, are there any other points or motions on the floor?
So do we have anyone else who wants to raise the motion? Or also anyone who wants to raise the motion, they can write in the chat box.
Yes, delegate of Israel, you have the floor.
Okay, so the delegate of Israel would like to raise a motion on the moderated caucus about the UN resolution 2735 that stipulates a three-phase approach to achieve a ceasefire in the region with a total speaking time of 15 minutes and an individual speaking time of 1 minute allocated to each speaker.
Okay, perfect. So what I think, right, all the three motions are extremely relevant and all three motions should be discussed, but seeing the time shortage, like we have 3 hours today and like this one session and we're going to have 2 sessions tomorrow. So I don't feel like that the background and the causes of Israel-Palestine conflict have been addressed at this moment. All these solutions are quite solution oriented. All these mods are quite solution oriented. So if you guys have any motions about the background of Israel-Palestine conflict, like just a short motion so that everybody knows, or either the causes or effect related mod about the Israel-Palestine conflict. So that would be quite like good so that everybody knows actually what this is. Yes, delegate of Lebanon, you have the floor.
Delegate of Lebanon would like to raise a moderated caucus on the motion of the root causes of the Israel-Palestinian conflict with total speaking time of 10 minutes and individual speaking time of 1.5 minutes.
Okay, so the delegate of Israel, the motion you raise is not under consideration at the moment because it's quite solution oriented and we'll discuss it tomorrow probably when we are discussing or when considering the framework. So right now we have three motions. So in order of precedence, we'll first be voting on the motion that is raised by the delegate of Spain to discuss the UN interventions, like the motion, I don't remember the exact statement about the UN interventions. All those in the favor, kindly raise your hands. Yeah, that motion fails. With that, we'll be voting on the motion that is raised by delegate of Iran to discuss the current status of Israel-Palestine conflict with time parameters 15.1.5. All those kindly raise your hands. All those in the favor, raise your hands. That motion also fails. With that, we'll be voting on the last motion that is raised by the delegate of Lebanon. And if that motion fails, the committee will revert back to the GSL. So, delegate, I urge you all to kindly vote on this motion because it's a very basic motion to discuss the root causes. And without discussing the root causes, the committee cannot actually proceed further. So, I request all of you to kindly vote on this motion. So, with that, all those in the favor of the motion raised by the delegate of Lebanon to discuss the root causes of Israel-Palestine conflict, kindly raise your hands. This motion passes. The delegate of Lebanon, would you like to be the first or the last speaker?
I would like to be the first speaker.
Okay. So, is anybody going to be timing, or should I time them myself?
I can keep a stopwatch or a timer if it's not convenient for you. I'll do that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. So, okay. So delegate of Lebanon, you have the floor for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So the moderator caucus is the root cause of Israel-Palestine war. This war dates back as long as the 19th century when the Jews migrated to Palestine for the first time in 1881. That was their first big migration of Jews. Then comes the World War One. Until the World War One, the conditions were quite of peace. In the World War One, the British signed a pact with the Arab that they will give Arab a separate country. They signed a pact with Jews that they will give them a separate country, and they secretly signs a pact with France. And when the World War One is over, this region, this Middle East region, is divided between France and British, which was the root cause of Yemen, which was the root cause of Palestine-Israel conflict. When in 1948, when British gave independence to this region, they left the conflict of Israel-Palestine unresolved, just like what happened in subcontinent. We all know that that could be synonymous to this issue. So they left this unresolved. In 1947, a plan was devised to give 55% of land to Israel and 45% of land to Palestine. But the majority living in there were Palestinians, were the Arabs from the Palestine. So that was not a fair treatment. After 1948 Arab War, the land given to Palestine was 20%, and 80% of the land was allocated to Israel. Now there were 1.3 million Arabs living in the region, and only 700,000 Jews living in the region. That is just absurd. After that, in 1948 Exodus, 700,000 Palestinians had to leave their country. So, and we all know that that this land is holy for Christianity, Jews, and Islam. So their unjust division just made people stir up. The anger of the people was stirred up. So that was the root cause. Then in 1967.
Your
All
time
right,
has elapsed.
all right. That's all from my side.
Thank you, delegate. All those wishing to speak, kindly raise your hands. Yes, delegate of Ireland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of Lebanon clearly explained the history and the migration of the Jews towards the land of Palestine. I will continue from where they stopped to mention all the root causes of Israel-Palestine conflict. When we talk about the 1967 war, it was a 6-day war. And after this war, when Israel won, it fully occupied the 100% Palestinian land. This led to an insurgency. This led to the migration of settlers toward Palestine and in the West Bank. They were illegally occupying the land. This gave rise to Hamas, and which is clearly one of the main cause of October the 7th and the conflict and the death of the Palestinians we're seeing today. The main aim of PLO was to liberate Palestine from Israel. Okay. The second root cause was the return of the millions of refugees which are currently living outside Palestine, and they do not have the right to return to their homeland. This is why the Palestinians are fighting for their self-determination and to establish their own state with their own self-identity. And I would like to conclude this, and I would like to yield the rest of my time to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. There are no yields in moderated caucuses. There are only yields in general speaker list. Thank you. All those wishing to speak, yes, Delegate of Spain, you have the floor.
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Okay, so first of all, the delegate of Lebanon clearly stated the history of the Palestine-Israel issue, but I would like to point out what is the reason that this conflict has persisted for so long. First of all, there was a peaceful solution presented by the United Nations, and that was establishment of clear boundaries between Israel and Palestine. First of all, that was not accepted by Israel, not acknowledged, I would say, by Israel and the militants in Palestine. Then the closest we got to peace was Oslo Accords. Oslo Accords was also recognized by the United Nations and not followed by either of the two parties. Initially, they were followed, but extremist groups stopped the issue of the solution to peace. So the thing is that first of all, we have to stop the insurgents from disacknowledging the resolutions presented by the United Nations. If the United Nations resolutions are accepted, they are the most peaceful solution. And the cause of this conflict is the complete disregard of United Nations resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delegate, for that fine speech. With that, Mohammed Uzair, I don't know what your country is. If you can specify in the beginning of your speech, you have the floor.
Yes, I'm Mohammed Uzair, the delegate of Germany, and I'll just start off from where they left. And also, I would like to point out a few points which I believe they've left. First of all, I would like to highlight I would like I would first of all like to highlight the historical claims to the land. Uh, both Israel and the Arabs believe that this is their religious land, and they claim it for those reasons. Jerusalem is a main part of that. Israel believes that Jerusalem should be entirely theirs, whereas the Arabs want East Jerusalem to be a part of their state, which should be named Palestine. Similarly, I would like to also highlight. The delegate of Germany would also like to highlight the illegal settlements that are being made by Israel in the regions which they have occupied during the Six-Day War in 1967, and that is also one of the reasons which the delegate believes is for this dispute. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Delegate, for that fine speech. You made good points. Kindly speak with more confidence. You are speaking good. And again, there are no yields in moderated caucuses. With that, Obadullah, I don't know your country. Can you please specify your country? And you have the floor.
Yes, first of all, thank you to all of you. And I'm representing the voice of People's Republic of China. So I will proceed the given topic as we have already discussed the border issue and the settlements and the refugees. After that, I have some important points that has driven this conflict to a large extent. And number one is among them the agricultural land that is near to the coast, or you can say the coastal land, which is more productive, that is occupied by Israel, and Israel is not ready to give it back to Palestine as per 1967 decision. So it's one of the things that agriculture is the key factor here that should be considered while resolving this conflict. Otherwise, I don't see any chance of that. And second point is the water problem. As we have saw that most of the water was in the control of Palestine, and now and then 80% of water was under the control of Israel, and now you can say that 100% of the water is under the control of Israel. So it's again a big dispute, because Israel is not going to put itself in danger of low water content, and that is why Israel is not ready to accept any declaration or any resolution. And the last one important factor that I want to mention is the political figures or the political elements, and that can include both the Hamas and the Israeli leadership, and other third party, for example, America and Iran. For example, now we have seen in the previous session that Iran's representative was saying that we are not in favor of two states. We want one and only one state. In the same way, if we see 1960s, there was according to the census, 69% of Israelis were in favor of two states, but now it came to 43%. So we can see 30% decline in the acceptance of two-state theory. Now you can see, and in the same way, Palestinian were 67% in favor of two-state, and now there are 40% in favor of that, because the conflict is going deeper and deeper, and the more time it takes, the more problems it will arrive, and the more it will be difficult to cope up with these. So I think these important issues should be discussed first, and then we can go for two-state and three-states and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Points well made. With that, with Aisha Iqbal, kindly specify your country and you have the floor.
Okay, so I am the delegate of France. I want to share 2 to 3 points on this. Like, we have a long and complex history on the Palestine-Israel conflict, from ancient times to 19th century, 1917, the war of 1948, and then 2024. But I think there are two main reasons which are the basic or root cause of Israel-Palestine conflict. Number one is that occupying a land that's not yours. The biggest unfair thing that we can do with someone is stealing their identity or asking them to leave their own land. Am I audible?
Yeah, Delegate, you're loud and clear. Please continue.
Okay, so I was saying that the biggest unfair thing that we can do with someone is to ask them to leave their own land, and I think this is the main root cause of Israel-Palestine conflict. That Palestinians can't return to their own land, they can't worship in their own land, and their land is been occupied by Israel. And the incident that took place on 7th of October, actually, all this was the aggressiveness of Hamas, because they weren't allowed to return to their own land. So I think this is the main cause that Israel has occupied a land without any reason.
Thank you, Delegate. With that, the time for this moderated caucus has elapsed. The dais is now looking forward for another motion for a moderated caucus. Are there any points or motions on the floor? Yes, Ubadullah, the delegate of China.
Thank you, Chairperson, for having me. Okay, so my topic is the double standard of European countries and America's insincere efforts in resolving Israeli and Palestine conflict. And the time for that is 15 minutes, and five members that are, the main members or the permanent members of the UN, I think they should take over.
Okay, so delegate, you cannot specify who should speak or not. However, your motion is under consideration that the biasness of European countries and role of America, with time parameters of 15 minutes. Can you please specify the individual speaking time?
Yes, sir. 3 minutes for each. UK, France, China, Russia, and with that we have UK, US. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other points or motions on the floor? Yes, delegate of Iran.
Delegate of Iran again wants to raise a motion on the topic, the current situation in Palestine and the role of international community in it.
Perfect. With time parameters?
15 minutes, 10 delegates will speak for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Sure, 15 and 1.5. Are there any points, other points from Muslims? Yes, delegate of Israel.
The delegate of Israel would like to raise a motion for a moderated caucus on the issue of giving back the lands that were taken by Israel in the Six-Day War, with a stipulated time of 15 minutes and individual speaking time of 1 minute per person.
Okay, so delegate, can you please rephrase your motion to discussing the Six-Day War instead of like specifying it to the land issue?
Okay.
It can be a broad motion and more people can be accommodated and they can speak.
It's the issue of giving back, like taking. They're asking for their lands back, right? So it's the issue of the lands that were occupied by Israel, giving those back to Palestine. I'm not sure how you can phrase that. If you can phrase that for me, that would be
Sure,
preferred.
basically you're talking about the Six-Day War of 1967. Am I right?
Yeah. The lands that were taken.
Yeah, sure. So how about we rephrase your motion to a moderated caucus to discuss the Sixth-Day War of 1967? And the motion that you are stating is actually your stance. So you can actually present your stance in a moderated caucus in a way that every other country can present its own stance in this motion. So we are going to basically talk about the Six-Day War of 1967. Is that okay with you?
I guess that's okay.
Sure.
That can work.
Okay. What were your time parameters?
Those were 15 minutes and with a individual speaking time of 1 minute per speaker.
Sure. Thank you. With that, in order of precedence, we'll first be voting on the motion raised by the delegate of Israel to discuss the Six-Day War of 1967 with time parameters 15:1. All those in favor, kindly raise your hands. All those in the favor of motion raised by delegate of Israel, kindly raise your hands. This is a very important motion. That motion passes. Delegate of Israel, would you like to be the first or the last speaker?
No, I would like to be the last one.
Sure. So all those wishing to speak, kindly
Point
raise
of
your
order.
Yeah, point of order taken.
You can't say कि this is very important or this is not. So कुछ लोग ऐसे some people are not raising their hand. After you said that this is very important, then they raise their hand. So please avoid this.
I agree.
Okay, sure, delegate, but that's not a point of order. But okay, if you guys want me to refrain from adding anything, I'll do so. So, delegate of Israel, you're the last speaker. All those wishing to speak in this mod to discuss the Six-Day War, kindly raise your hands. Guys, nobody wants to speak on this. आप लोगों ने मोशन पास करवाया है.
Actually, sir, no one got that point. Like, what is the topic exactly? So I think this is why.
ओके, मैं आपको आपके लिए एक्सप्लेन कर देता हूँ. देखें, इसराइल और पैलेस्टाइन के दरमियान 1967 के अंदर एक वॉर हुई थी जिसमें इसराइल का एक पर्टिकुलर स्टैंस था और पैलेस्टाइन का एक पर्टिकुलर स्टैंस था. और उस वॉर के रिजल्ट के अंदर कुछ लैंड ऐसा था जो इसराइल ने फर्दर ऑक्यूपाई कर लिया था. पैलेस्टाइन तो बेसिकली ये उस वॉर की है. जब आप इसराइल पैलेस्टाइन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को डिस्कस करते हैं, देन द 6 डे वॉर ऑफ 1967 इज एक्चुअली अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डेट. इसीलिए मैंने वहां पर ऐड किया था, क्योंकि इससे आपकी बहुत सारी कंट्रीज की ना स्टांसेस क्लियर होती हैं. सो इसका 6 डे वॉर, ये वॉर हुई क्यों, और इस मेनली व्हाट डज योर कंट्री थिंक अबाउट इट? यस, ईरान.
I just raised my hand because I want to speak on this topic.
Okay. Just hold on. Are there all those wishing to speak, kindly raise your hands. Okay, we'll start with Delegate of Iran. Yes, you have the floor, Delegate.
Am I audible to you?
Yeah, Delegate, you're audible. Start.
Okay, thank you. The delegate of Iran wants to speak on the topic. The 1967 war, also known as the Six-Day War, was a pivotal event in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Here, the Palestinians view the war as a catastrophic event that led to the occupation of their land. And it is true, and delegate of Iran thinks it's true, including the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem was occupied by Israel. That is a brutal occupation, and that is the real cause of this conflict. The war resulted in the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, many of whom were forced to flee or were expelled from their homes. The war created a new wave of Palestinian refugees who were denied their right to return to their homes. Palestinians considered Israelis' annexation of East Jerusalem and the Golan Heights as illegal. The war led to the establishment of Israeli settlements in the occupied territories, which Palestinians see as a violation of international law, and it is a violation of international law. All the lands under the Israelis are occupied against the international laws. Palestinians urged that they were denied them their rights to self-determination and statehood. They were marked the beginning of an ongoing military occupation that has lasted for decades. Palestinians have resisted the occupation through various means, including armed struggle, non-violent resistance, and diplomatic efforts. And Palestinians urge that Israeli action during and after the war violation international law, including the Fourth Geneva Convention. Delegate of Iran demands the justice from the UN to return these all the territories which are brutally occupied by Israel. These should be returned to the Palestine, and that's why Iran demands for the one-state solution, not two-state solution, because these all the land was given to as a favor for shelter to them, but they occupied it later. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Spain, you have the floor.
Am I audible again?
Yes, you are audible, loud and clear.
Okay, so the Six-Day War between Israel and Palestine, I think the delegate of Spain thinks that that was another example of complete disregard of the United Nations resolutions that were passed before the war. Uh, uh, with regards to the Arab countries, almost all of them, completely disregarded what the United Nations had passed, what boundaries were established, and they attacked on the region. And after the war, Israel also occupied territories which were not given to them according to the United Nations resolution. So, uh, so our stance on this is that the United Nations Resolution 242, United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 passed after the war that established clear boundaries between Israel and Palestine, with Jerusalem being under international control, should be established once again. And that is the only true solution to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. With that, Delegate of Lebanon, you have the floor.
Am I audible?
Yes, delegate, you're audible.
So the Six-Day War of 1677 serves a stark reminder of dangers of unchecked aggression and the enduring consequences of occupation. It was clearly stated in the resolution of UN Assembly that the boundaries of Palestine and Israel were marked very clearly. But after that war, those boundaries were violated. Not just the boundaries of West Bank, but the boundaries of the neighboring Arab countries, just like Egypt and Lebanon. And that is the sole reason of ongoing conflict of Lebanon with Israel, the civil war in Lebanon, and the rise of Hezbollah. That is all the effect of that Six-Day War of 1967. Israel clearly had no regard of that law. They made settlements inside the West Bank, and they deprived the Palestinian, the Egyptians, as well as the Lebanese people of their basic human rights. And our stance on that issue, or the stance of Lebanon on that issue, that those lands, the lands which we occupied from Palestine ourselves, and which the land of Egypt, which they gave to Egypt after some time, but the land of West Bank is still in the occupation of Israel. So our stand, or the stance of Lebanon, is that that land should be given back to Palestinian people, and we call a UN to form a resolution, and that resolution should be strictly under surveillance, and it should be ensured that the resolution is carried out and it does not fail like the previous three major resolutions that was passed, and they clearly failed. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. The delegate of China, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I will present the stance of the People's Republic of China. China has always condemned the imperialism and the attacks on other lands and livelihoods. In the same way, we condemn the attacks and all of the occupation of Sinai Peninsula and Golan Heights by Israel, and also uh, we are in favor of pre-1967 war boundaries, in which 45% of land was allocated to Palestine and East Jerusalem as its capital. And moreover, it was a naked and aggressive expansion of Israel, and we always condemn and we always disheard such kind of activities, and we call for mutual cooperation, peace, development, and economic prosperity.
Yes, Aisha Iqbal, you have. And can you, what was your country?
France.
You may.
Okay, so France think that the main thing about a war is what outcomes it brought. I would share some outcomes that resulted because of the Six-Day War. Number one is that Israel gained control of the Gaza Strip, West Bank. With that, the war marked a significant shift in the regional balance of power. Like Israel emerged as a dominant military force. And the war also led to a significant increase in Palestinian refugees, and more land was occupied by Israelis. And the war also led to a major influx of Jewish immigrants to Israel. So all these outcomes of Six-Day War have contributed to the ongoing tensions, conflicts, and instability in the region. So this is what we discussed before, that what is the root cause of the Palestine-Israel conflict, basically this war. So France has a stance on this, that a two states is the only solution, with Jerusalem be the capital of both states, Israel and the future state of Palestine.
All those wishing to speak, kindly raise your hands. We still have a lot of speakers to accommodate, as this motion had time parameters of 15:1. So all those wishing to speak, kindly raise your hands. Delegate of Spain, there are no POIs in a model UN conference. Yes, delegates, all those wishing to speak, kindly raise your hands.
Okay, so Subhan bhai, I just wanted to say, the last mod that we had POIs in them, and I think they made the whole debate a little more interesting for the participants and everything. So, do you think you can like accommodate POIs in this mod as well?
As in POIs, you want to like the POIs which happen in parliamentary debates, that you have
Yeah,
POIs and point of
those. I
replies.
think
So just
that's
let
how
me
they were.
clarify. If you guys wanted तो हम उसके बारे में सोच सकते हैं, but the thing is कि POIs MUN के अंदर exist ही नहीं करते, और जो point of replies होते हैं, a point of reply is only granted to a delegate when the sovereignty of that delegate is breached. For example, अगर कोई उठकर यहाँ पर personal attack करना start कर दे किसी country के ऊपर, irrespective of the mod, तो फिर हम उस कंट्री की अगर सोवरेनिटी को ब्रीच करें, फॉर एग्जांपल कोई कंट्री उठ के किसी को बिला वजह टेररिस्ट कंट्री बुला दे, देन वी लेट दैट कंट्री हैव अ राइट ऑफ रिप्लाई. सो अगर आपका सोवरेनिटी ब्रीच नहीं हो रही, आपको कोई डिसरिस्पेक्टिंग या ह्यूमिलिएटिंग रिमार्क आपकी कंट्री पे नहीं आया, सो as long as that doesn't happen, you're not granted the point of right of reply. And as of POIs, तो मैंने POI अभी तक किसी मॉडल यूनियन कॉन्फ्रेंस के अंदर नहीं देखा, सो उससे डिबेट थोड़ी सी मेसी हो जाएगी. What we can do is कि जो आपके POIs होते हैं ना, उनका मॉडल यूनियन के अंदर प्रेजेंट करने का the way is to write it down, and when you are speaking तो speak with that point. मतलब आपको अगर लगा है कि आपने इस कंट्री के बारे में कोई पॉइंट लेना है, या जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल फ्रांस अभी बोलकर बैठे और आपको लग रहा है कि फ्रांस की स्पीच के अंदर कोई बात प्रॉब्लमेटिक थी which you want to give a reply to, then write that reply. और जैसे ही आप स्पीच स्टार्ट करें तो you can start your speech with first I'd like to reply to France, and you can like dedicate your 10 to 20 seconds to that reply, and then you can move on to the mod. This is what we do in model UN. अगर आप लोग दूसरा POI लेना चाहते हैं, then I feel like that it will get very messy कि हर बंदा POI लेने लग जाएगा, then the debate will like stay उसी जगह पे रुक जाएगी. तो आप लोग अपनी स्पीचेस में ऐड कर लें, एंड वी कैन अकोमोडेट अ लॉट ऑफ स्पीकर्स. तो हमारे पास अगर आप लोग एक दफा बोल के बाद में आपके पास पॉइंट्स हैं, kindly raise your hand again, I'll recognize you more. I'll recognize you again. So yes, Delegate Firan, you have the floor.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible, loud and clear.
Iran's view is that the war was the result of Israeli expansionist policies and its desire to occupy more Palestinian land. They urge that the war led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, the destruction of their homes and communities, and the illegal annexation of Palestinian territories by Israel. Iran's stance on the Six-Day War is closely tied to its broader stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which emphasizes the need for Palestinian self-determination, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. It's worth noting that Iran's views on this topic are not universally shared, and there are diverse perspectives on the Six-Day War and its consequences. However, Iran's stance on this issue is an important aspect of its foreign policy and its position on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Iran's official stance is that the Six-Day War in 1967 was an act of aggression by Israel, which led to the occupation of Palestinian territories, and which led to the leadership. Iran's government and leadership have consistently condemned Israeli's actions during and after the war, considering them a violation of international laws and Palestinian rights.
Okay, Delegate of Israel, you were recognized at last, but if you want to speak first, we can do that. Do you want to speak right now?
Yeah, I'm just gonna carry the conversation forward.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. You can start. You have the floor.
Okay, so the delegate of Israel would like to reiterate that the Six-Day War was never the first instance of a preemptive strike on the state of Israel. This has happened before in 1948 as well, after the 1948 resolution of the United Nations was passed that gave both of the states, both of the people their own states. The Arabs refused to they refused to participate in that resolution, and then they launched a preemptive strike on the state of Israel. This happened before, and this happened in 1967 when Egypt, Jordan, and Syria they attacked on Israeli lands and they tried to aggress on our borders, but we fought back and we fought back harder, and we took over the lands that they tried to contest with us, and we created buffer zones so that an event like this could never happen again. So, the occupied lands that they call contested lands and that they want back, they brought them up, they brought that upon themselves by attacking us. We were never the ones who went in there and occupied these lands. They came in and they fought with us, and we took over these lands. If you want us to give these lands back to you, you have to make Russia give back Crimea, you have to make India give back Kashmir, and you have to make all of these contested land problems go away as well if you want us to give these lands back. That's all.
Points very well made, delegate. Delegate of Spain, you have the floor.
The delegate of Spain here. So, during the course of this resolution, we once again saw the reason for the conflict, and that was once again the disregard of UN policies. First of all, the delegate of France said that they do support the two-state solution, but have always been constantly arming one side of the forces. And again, Iran said that it was aggression of Israel that brought about the war. That was, even if there was some aggression from Israel's side, there was aggression from the Arab countries as well. So you have to take in that to account when you are considering all of this. So after the war, the United Nations established a clear parameter that these are the boundaries, and uh, just and they will be followed. They will be recognized internationally. But France, as they said, they support the two-state solution, have never recognized an independent state of Palestine. So that completely disregards their point. And I don't know how they are supporting a two-state solution without even recognizing one of them. And Israel said that we created buffer zones and we captured areas they were contesting for. So this is not some medieval time that you would take some land by right of conquest. This is the boundaries established by the United Nations. If they are followed after the war, there wouldn't have been any conflict later on as well. So yeah, that is what I wanted to say. Gracias.
Thank you,
Point of
delegate.
reply.
No, delegate. No point of replies. He did not breach your sovereignty. He just pointed out the flaw in your speech. If you want to reply to him or the delegate of Spain, you might do that in your speech as he did. So yes, Lebanon, you have the floor.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, so I'd like to give one or two replies to Israel, and then I'd raise up your eye on Spain as well. So first of all, Israel put that statement in such a way as if as if the Arab countries are just trying to get Jews killed, like what happened to them in Europe and whatsoever, and we are just trying to make them leave this land. We are not trying to make you leave. We want a two-state solution. We want a just solution, just like that was proposed in 1948 which was not so just, but let's say we agree to that, all right? There are 55% of land. You had 55%, you had authority to 55% of land, and yet you still took more, about 30% or so more. And now the West Bank of Gaza is literally scattered into pieces, and the West Bank is literally scattered into pieces, and there has been so much worse conditions in Gaza, and so many times have there been illegal border crossing. So we don't want you to leave. We just want you and us, and I mean, and we want you and Palestine to live in a peaceful environment. Secondly, Spain said that there were conflicts on both sides, from Palestine, from from Arab countries. I'm sorry, from Arab countries as well as from Israel. Yes, there were aggression from both sides. But what was the reason of their aggression? The reason of their aggression, that their land, their sole land, had been taken from them. And above all, East Jerusalem, which is considered one of the holiest places in Islam, they were captured illegally, a state illegally, from the people of Palestine. So we had the right to show aggression, and that's what we did. So that's all from my side. Thank you. Sorry, was I audible? Hello?
Yes, you were audible, Delegate. Yes, Ahmed Wakar Khan, you have the floor, and can you please specify your country?
I'm the delegate of US. So, as the delegate of United States, after the 1967-60 war, where Israel fought against Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, the situation became quite complicated. Israel ended up occupying the West Bank, which was previously occupied by Jordan, Gaza Strip, which was under the jurisdiction of Egypt, and also Israel occupied the Egyptian peninsula, which later on created major problems to solve the conflicts. The US backed the United Nations Security Council Resolution number 242, which aimed to find a solution for the problem. It called for Israel to withdraw from these occupied areas. This resolution addressed both Israel's need for safety and the Palestinian advocacy for their own state. The US has worked to support Israel's right to defend itself, and meanwhile also encouraging talks to solve the disputes and fulfill Palestinian hopes for a separate statehood and country. Later on, US mediated the Camp David Accords in 1979, where US President Carter mediated the talks between the Egyptian Prime Minister and Israeli Prime Minister, which ultimately led Israel to give up the Egyptian peninsula back to Egypt. So I suppose this approach should show a commitment to a fair and lasting peace for both sides. Thank you.
Okay, Delegate, thank you. With that, are there any more speakers who would like to speak in this motion? Kindly raise your hands. Yes, Delegate of Ireland, you have the floor.
I would like to raise a POI to the delegate of the United States. They said that they voted in favor of the United States Resolution 242. I would like to remind them that it happened in 1967. If we talk about the current conflict that is going on in Israel and Palestine, the United States have vetoed 6 resolutions of ceasefire just to shield Israel. When Noam Chomsky said that for the powerful, crimes are those that others commit. This is the same case with the United States. They are only seeing one side as human. Their empathy lies only with Israel. They're not seeing Palestine as the oppressed nation. I would like them to play their role in the ceasefire resolutions and to bring an end to this conflict.
Thank you, Delegate. Points well made. Yes, Delegate of China, you have the floor. Delegate, you wish to speak, Ubaidullah?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair. I want to add some comments to the Ireland's delegate. I think a ceasefire is not the solution. we need a comprehensive, positive solution to that conflict, because ceasefire can will last for a month or 2 or 3 or 1 year maximum. So I think we need to focus on the core issues that are causing these conflicts. For example, the land, the Jerusalem, the water, the agriculture. These are the major problems. Hamas and terrorists and weapons and ceasefire. These are not the problems, because once they recognize each other, Israel and Palestine mutually recognize each other, make a stable and peaceful environment, then Hamas can defend their lands, and the same way IDF can defend their lands. So this is how they can contribute to the peaceful environment. So I think ceasefire is not the solution. Solution is the comprehensive settlement of the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Spain, you want to speak?
Yeah, am I audible again?
Yeah, you're audible again. You have the floor.
Okay, so first of all, the delegate of United States clearly supported the two-state solution, and we welcome that. But on grand when you're on the international stage and when there's time for action, you do not support the two-state solution. You always please those you want to please those Israeli investors that are uh, that have boosted your economy, and clearly your president, your supreme leader, that is your country's point of view, because the guy is presenting it. He has the whole country behind him, and he said that I am a Zionist, and Zionist means that no area of Zionism clearly states that no area would be given to Palestine. So that that means that you don't support the two-state solution. So first of all, you should do that to recognize the state of Palestine and uh, disarm the troops of Israel. Second, the delegate of China said that ceasefire is not the solution. Yes, ceasefire is not the solution, but it is the first step towards the solution. We cannot reach for the solution when there are civilians dying, and that's was the purpose of this committee, to stop these civilian casualties. And if there is no ceasefire, I believe the delegate of Spain believes that there is no ceasefire, and we will continue to work towards the ceasefire first and then towards the two-state solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. All those wishing to speak, kindly raise your hands. We have to get 2 more speakers in order to complete the time parameters of this point. Yes, Delegate of Iran, you have the floor.
Am I audible?
Yes, Delegate, loud and clear.
Actually, some urge that Israeli response to the blockading of the straits of the Tehran and mobilization of Arab armies was disproportionate, leading to unnecessary expansion and occupation of territories. Actually, that land was that was a Palestinian land. That was not Israeli land. That was given to Israelis when they were thrown out from the Europe. They went there and they asked for the help. The Palestinians showed some sympathy, and they gave their homeland to them as a shelter. And the Jerusalem, Al-Quds, all these were under Muslim Palestinian people. When they tried to overcome to make them under them, that's why that was the aggression of the Arab people, and this aggression led to the war. So Israel is the Israeli occupation is the real cause behind the war. Israel launched a primitive strike on June 5th, 1967, which some see as an act of aggression, while others view it as a necessary defensive measure. When this is wrong, this is not was not a defensive measure. This was to occupy the land, and that was clear
Delegate,
that they were against.
At Marhama Sohail, you have the floor. Kindly specify your title.
delegate of Palestine here. So if you are going to take someone's land illegally, or if you are going to steal someone's land, then definitely they have the right to protest against what you did to them. So Palestine, this 6 day war was actually a protest against what the Israel and the Jews did to Palestinian Muslims, Jewish entered into the Palestine just to have the shelter, but ended up occupying most of the land of Palestine. In 1948, they were given the 45 to 55% of the land legally, but after the war, they occupied more land from the Palestinian people, and it was their right to protest against what they have gone through. Hundreds and thousands of Palestinians were displaced from their homes, and many were killed in those 6 days. So yeah, that was from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. With that, the time for this moderated caucus has elapsed. Are there any other points or motions on the floor? Yes, Marhama Sohail, Delegate of Palestine, you have the floor.
Sorry, I forgot to lower down my hand.
Okay, perfectly fine. Delegate of Spain, you have the floor.
The delegate of Spain would like to present a moderated caucus on UN intervention in disarming the Israel-Palestine region and establishment of a ceasefire, with an individual speaking time of 1 minute and 30 seconds and a total speaking time of 15 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So we already had two motions on the floor. Delegate, can you please repeat your time parameters?
Individual speaking time of 1 minute and 30 seconds and a total speaking time of 15 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so delegates, I feel like that you guys are not raising the mods up to the agenda of your committee. So the agenda says addressing human rights violations and ensuring civil protections in Israel-Palestine conflict. So the motions that I have on the floor right now, the interventions to disarm Europe and USA biased role and the current status and the role of international community. So if you guys have not discussed what human rights violations have occurred in Israel-Palestine conflict, like broadly, sirf ye keh dena ke Israeli mare ya Palestinians mare, this isn't enough, right? So with some facts or like with some figures and with some specific tangible substance to your debate, if you guys can talk about what human rights violations have been conducted and what civil rights have been violated in Israel-Palestine conflict, then I believe that that would be the motion that should have been in order for this day. ताकि फिर कल हम ये interventions और ये disarmament and UN बाकी international actors का जितना role है उसको discuss कर सकते हैं. Because if we move to interventions right now, तो बहुत एक irregular सी committee लगेगी कि interventions discuss करके उसके बाद हम human rights को discuss करें. So with that, are there any other points or motions on the floor? Yes, delegate of Egypt.
The delegate of Egypt would like to present the moderated caucus on topic to end the blockade of Gaza with total speaking time of 10 minutes and individual speaking time of 50 seconds.
Delegate, that motion is out of order. Are there any other points? Yes, delegate of Israel.
The delegate of Israel would like to know if an unmod is possible at this moment.
Yes, you guys, if you guys want an unmod, you can also raise a motion for an unmod. So like there are 15 minutes left. If you guys want to end this day on an unmod, that's up to you. You can raise a motion.
Delegate of Israel would like to raise an unmod of I think 15 minutes to form the correct blocks so that we can come back to the blocks tomorrow.
Okay, so that motion is in order. So we have like 15 minutes. So when you guys are going to come back from the unmod, the session will have been elapsed. So this unmod, if it happens, okay, so let's first vote. So in order of precedence, we'll first be
Let me
voting on
just
the motion.
okay,
Sorry?
let me just elaborate it to the participants ताकि उनको पता हो कि what we're supposed to do now. Basically, guys, मैं चाहता हूँ कि हम लोग अनमॉड करके ब्लॉक्स बना लें क्योंकि if we're gonna come back tomorrow तो ब्लॉक्स पहले से बने हो ताकि हमारा टाइम थोड़ा बच सके. That's all I want.
Okay, that delegate, that makes sense. So all in order of precedence, we'll first be voting on the motion that is raised by the delegate of Israel for an unmod for 15 minutes. All those wishing to be an unmod, kindly raise your hands. All those wishing to be an unmod, kindly raise your hand. Okay, so that motion passes, and you guys are now in an unmod for 15 minutes. Before you guys go into an unmod, there are some instructions and there are some guidelines which I'd like to share with you guys. जब आप लोग इस unmod से वापस आएंगे, then there won't be मतलब session उस वक्त end हो चुका होगा. So like this unmod is kind of suspension of debate. However, we'll come back and we'll raise a motion for suspension of debate. अब what you guys should do in this unmod कि आप लोग जो है अपने ब्लॉग्स को काइंडली फाइनलाइज करें. आप लोगों को अभी तक पता चल गया कि कौन सी कंट्रीज वांट अ टू स्टेट सॉल्यूशन एंड व्हाट कंट्रीज वांट वन स्टेट सॉल्यूशन. सो यू शुड negotiate with the countries who want the solution as your country wants, so that but when you guys come tomorrow, the first motion that the dice will be expecting is of proceedings of unmod. So guys, so you should can tell the dice that what you guys did in an unmod and what were the contentions. So by tomorrow, we should know what blocks are in our committee and which countries are in which block. With that, second, tomorrow we want to have a draft resolution in your second session. So in your first session, we're just going to mainly discuss the human rights violations and what civil rights have been violated as of now. So this is going to put an end to all the impacts of Israel-Palestine conflict, right? So yeah, one more impact. Just discuss the effect of militarization on Israel-Palestine conflict. I'm just breaking down the topic so you guys can research accordingly कि ये motions probable motions हैं. मैं आपको bound नहीं कर रहा, but I'm just giving you like a breakdown कि आप लोग कल कैसे बेहतर research करके आ सकते हो. So ये तीन करके उसके बाद we'll move towards the solutions. जितने भी आप लोग problems discuss कर चुके होंगे, we'll move towards the solution and then we'll move towards the DR. So with that, you guys are in an unmod. Yeah, so form your blocks. Yes, delegates, it's better if you guys talk in the WhatsApp. तो मतलब ज़्यादा easy convenient हो जाएगा. ऐसे Google Meet पे सारे बोलेंगे तो आप लोगों को समझ भी नहीं आएगा कि कौन क्या कह रहा है. So you guys know कि आपने किस country को approach करना है. So you can either directly contact that country or you can like just make a group and talk to each other.